Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group, and today we're talking with my friend at the Sheriff's Department, Doug Blodget. How you doing today, Doug?
Well, I'm well. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
All right. Hey, Doug, give a rundown what's going on since the last time we talked, I think about a month and a half ago. What's going on with the Sheriff's Department? How has this Floyd deal affected the Sheriff's Department? And just give our community an update on what's going down.
All right. Well, this last time we spoke, I think we had spoke or touched on some changes in the hiring and things that the sheriff has instituted. I will say unequivocally, this last round of new hires that we had as deputies is probably the most diverse bunch of people that we've had in the sheriff's office. I mean, that was a big point that the sheriff wanted to make. He's trying to, maintain that diversity throughout the agency, and even probably more to the point, kind of that inclusivity, like, bring everybody in. Let's work this out together. This is all our city. This is all our county. Let's work these problems from all angles. Having some different insights to things always gives great work. So that's been good. The sheriff's office has been doing a lot of growth in that region. Obviously, COVID being what COVID was, I mean, it kind of put a hit to everybody, to include us. I mean, we're on a hiring freeze there for a short time. We're down some people. So, anybody out there in the stratosphere that's looking for a solid job and actually make a difference, feel free to reach out to us. This whole George Floyd, Derek Chauvin trial, it's again, it's brought back to the forefront some, base inequalities in the system, as well as, kind of issues that law enforcement has in general. Yeah, as we're seeing right now, the trial, anybody that's kept up on it at all, man, I got to tell you, if you can afford a good attorney, you can get a good case. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you are. It's the defense made a great case. The prosecution made a great case. The number of experts the prosecution brought in definitely drove a lot of points home that I don't think anybody really considered to begin with. But one thing I noticed through the whole thing was that kind of palpable sense outside, walking in the streets, especially in uniform, there's this tension that I just hate seeing and I hate feeling, in the community, that people are just waiting for this powder keg to ignite. You got Congress people coming on and basically, especially now that the jury's been sequestered, you got Congress people coming on basically calling for unrest and violence. No different than what Trump did in his rally, when he did the same damn thing. And, it seems to become a norm, for the people that we're supposed to look to for guidance, look to for direction, as our elected officials they're using travesties and tragedies like this and miscarriages of justice like this to sit there and trumpet points that shouldn't be their point. We got to work on healing this rift between not just the police and the public, but the haves and the have-nots. All the different ethnic and racial sides of this great country. I mean, that's what makes us great. Is that we've always been able to disagree. You and I can stand in the middle of the street, and you can say one thing, I can say, well, you're wrong, and guess what? That's okay. But we've gotten to the point where, again, disagreement and discord is no longer peaceful. I mean, if you disagree with somebody, and God forbid you disagree with somebody of a different color than you, then now all of a sudden you're a racist, or you're refusing to see it from other sides, or you've got privilege, or God forbid you're a black man and you disagree with another black man based on something that they've seen. Good God, some of the things I've heard said to black men saying, I don't agree with this. Oh, wow. It takes the patience of Job to be able to handle that without losing their calm. As far as, on the basis of what's going on, like I said before, as a profession, we got issues. We're working hard to try to correct those issues, but we got issues. And many of them you could consider systemic. The system was set up by people that weren't from backgrounds like you and I. You know what I mean? They were those power brokers that set the system. So the easiest way to, kind of keep yourself in power is to make sure that you set rules up to keep those that aren't not. But that's all coming to light. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of that's gotten lost. We've talked in great detail about how, it's not so much about race. It's not so much about color. It's about that socioeconomic divide. And, you keep people people broke and pushed down, you know, and sooner or later they're going to have enough. But
and then y'all have to deal with that when they have enough.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. And
the level of frustration that they have, though, it's like, man, I can see where this person's coming from.
Hold it, I'm saying, because you got that vest on and stuff now, but when you go home, you just like us, you know.
Absolutely.
And you know, when cell phones first came out, and the AT, they had you over the barrel. Pay your bill late. Absolutely. Or whatever, they cut it right off. Right. And
that's why 8 o'clock at night and weekends always counted so big.
Yeah. All right. And so I used to call, hey, I need an extension or this and that. And a lot of times at that time, the competition wasn't enough to make the companies act right. And they would be like, customer enemy instead of customer service. But what I would say to them, when you get off your job, you're a customer just like me, and would you appreciate a customer service rep addressing you the way you're addressing me? And I said that to say the same thing with law enforcement. At the end of the day, when you put the uniform on, that's your job. But when the uniform come off, you just like everybody else, basically, and having to deal with the same frustrations that everybody else deals with. And you and myself have talked off camera a whole lot about the systemic problems that exist in law enforcement across the board, FBI, CIA, or kindergarten cops. But those are things that are they're in our hands, but fundamentally they're out of our hands. And the people that are in power have to decide that they want to make some changes. From,
you know, when we start seeing this this level of kind of social, I don't even want to say movement, because obviously there's a lot of movement going on socially, you know, through social media and so on and so forth. But the level of just discourse amongst the citizenry, regardless of race, regardless of anything else, people are angry. You know, they're angry, they're upset, and you know, it's getting to a point where they're just like on both sides of the aisle. You know, the people who are like, oh, you know, they're pro-police or they're anti-police, or you know, they're you know, pro status quo or want change. It doesn't matter what.
Let me be the cutoff king real quick.
Right.
All of this, as we talked off camera, has to me to do with economics to a great extent. That where the majority community never had it where they were this stressed about their economics, about their kids' futures, like people of color. And now a lot of people are waking up and seeing it's not really a person of color, it's an economic thing. And all of this discord, what you said earlier about let's say black men talking to black men and disagreeing. They are weaving this discord in American fabric, from my perception, on anything. Split hairs on anything, and I hate you until you go to hell. Because you didn't like this magazine cover, and I liked it, and I don't understand why you don't like it. And that's killing this nation.
Yeah, I mean, so you said it perfectly when you said it's kind of been woven into the fabric of this nation. I mean, we can go all the way back to when we fought for our independence. This country came about based on violence. This country expanded based on violence. We spoke offline. I mean, look at the slaughter of the Native American people. Everything in this country has basically, in one way, shape, or form, been shaped by the act of human beings doing some foul shit to other human beings, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, accepting that is the first thing that we as a people have to do.
That's the hardest thing. Hold it. That's hey, Doug, you know how I told you I'm 69. That's the hardest thing for me to accept. I have finally accepted that you don't really have no power, because all power in this nation and now in the world has to do with your bank account. Your worth is tied to your social status for the most part. People always want to say, oh, no, no, no. For the most part, it's tied
Absolutely,
to
for the most part. I mean, the biggest lie told to the American people was you can't buy happiness, right? Money don't buy happiness. Let me explain something to you. You can say this just as well as I can. And anybody that came up broke knows this as well. Not seeing your parents argue over, not having any money in a checking account or which bill is going to get paid or this, that makes it a whole lot easier to be happy and, kind of take in those small things, right? So you're right. Your fiduciary worth definitely, by the way the system's set, definitely has some sort of
and
value.
Right now, it was like, I go back to when I finally did get a spanking. It wasn't what you did right then. You had piled up so much stuff that it was time to let you know who was in charge. And
right,
that's how I see the public rising, per se. That is, the Floyd case is just one of probably hundreds of thousands that we all know what's what. But I refuse to get at this point all mixed up, because until the people that's in Congress and the Senate decide to really change some things, and I don't think nobody's serious about that. You look at Sandy Hook, you look at hey, Holly, you just look at over the last 5 or 6 days, every day it's a mass shooting, it's a mass this and that, and all we get is some verbal communications about sorrow and prayers, but nothing is done systemically to deal with the gun violence, to deal with these things. So I can't.
I'll say, just to speak to the whole gun violence thing, I'll put it to you this way. It amazes me how we think that we can legislate our way out of a problem that, again, this country was founded upon. Second Amendment was written in a way to prevent us from being oppressed by a government, just like we were in the feudal era of the UK and England
in general.
Yeah, right. To keep from being, overrun by an overly corrupt and powerful government, right? So that, again, woven into the fiber of our society and woven into the fiber of our country. It doesn't matter if it's the blue stripe, or the blue background, the red stripe, or the white stripe. Interwoven within that fiber is the blood of a lot of people who fought and, either killed many people or died on behalf of another, trying to shape this country. The unfortunate side is, and it goes back to what I said a long time ago, to the victor goes the spoils. Those who are in power get to write the history. Those who are in power get to set the rules.
Right? That's right.
And be damned everybody else.
And we're players on the stage. And my goal with the sheriff's department is to have open communications and to have these type of conversations. Our conversation might not be directly related to Kansas City or what have you, but it's more so to show my audience, and they know I'm not no suck up, that the officers are people just like you and me. And
hey man, I argue with my old lady just like everybody else does. I got the same problems with bills just like everybody else does. And like I've said before when we talk, I just want the people to understand that very much, is that, hey, we're recruited from the human race. We're fallible just like anybody else. The last dude that was, infallible, they crucified. Remember that. I'm not trying to be on that. You know what I mean? So
I like the move that y'all are making over there. As you said, this is the first time in the history you've seen this diversity that is coming. And I don't think that nothing is going to happen overnight, but I think that y'all have come out the starting blocks, and you're working on it. And by evidence of this is that you're on this show, because
right.
A lot of the agencies and organizations in this city, they want to control the narrative. So I don't even bother with them bringing them onto the show. And
Right.
y'all have, I want to let my public know that y'all have had an open book, open conversations, online and offline. And do you have any closing words?
I'm going to say, just to speak to the viewers and also to you. You said it perfectly when you said nothing's going to change overnight. Patience is a virtue in this situation, but I can tell you that we are pushing in the right direction. If at any point in time, anybody out there just wants to learn more, just sit down and talk. Hey man, I go to the barbershop at least, once a week. So come on through. We'll sit down, chop it up. That being said, I'm always available to answer questions and talk to anybody, not just myself, man. Most of the guys at work, they're very, very willing to say, hey, man, we got problems. Let's talk about it. Let's not yell at each other, argue with each other. Let's talk about it. Figure out what we can do to fix this. Because again, nobody wants to be hated. Nobody wants to live in fear of, being a target just simply on the fact of, what you do for a living. Ain't no bus driver out there getting off this metro bus saying, damn, I'm glad I didn't get shot today. You know what I mean? So, but I appreciate you having us on here.
It's a two-way street. And again, the only thing that's going to solve that is communications.
Right.
So I'm leave at that. And it was a pleasure having you on. And as we always say in closing, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by Clark Star.